My little brother, Kent, died by suicide on March the 4th of 1995. My parents had 5 children in 5 years, and Kent was number 4. I'm number 3. And so we've always been very close, very good communication. We didn't recognize the signs in Kent. And so for us, it was very important to talk about the suicide death just among my own family members, but not out in the community, because in my community, it was very judgmental at the time when Kent died. So we weren't comfortable sharing information. When the obituary went into the newspaper about someone who died, they always put the cause of death. We actually asked for that not to be revealed in the local newspaper, and the reporter then went back to the city of Louisville and actually asked the coroner to release the cause of death because it is public knowledge. And it felt like the article that they had written about Kent dying by suicide was bigger than his actual obituary. In my family, my mother and my sister were the forgivers of everyone. So when people would make comments, they were like, oh, they didn't really mean to say that. I was the opposite. I was so angry, not with Kent. I was angry with the other people around me, that their lives had stayed the same, but mine was different. And so I became very angry when people would make what I call inappropriate comments, like wanting to ask more descriptive details about how Kent died, asking questions about myths that are so untrue. And so I became more angry, just wanting people to understand. We decided to start talking about it more publicly because I found out the misinformation that was going out in our community. But first, I had to take care of me. I had to go to a survivors of suicide group. I sought individual counseling because I had to understand his death more. Actually, his death helped me to realize I really needed to go back to school. I needed to become a social worker because I needed to better help people in the mental health field understand suicide loss survivors and even depression. During school, I really was very vocal with my peers in the classroom about suicide, talked quite a bit about it. At that same time, I became a suicide prevention trainer and then figured out how to initiate the same type of training into the school system. And so now there's a specialized program for school suicide prevention specialists. So it was ongoing, peers in the community, more training, being able to share the information I had. It was still very difficult because many times I was challenged as to who do I think I am, or I'm capitalizing upon my brother's death. That probably was the most hurtful. So every time you feel like you make a gain forward, every time you feel like you're making a change, then you find out that someone will make not such a nice remark about the things that you're doing. Ultimately, I know what it's like to walk in the shoes of mine as a suicide loss survivor. And I don't want anybody else to follow in those same footsteps. So I became a lot more vocal. And of course, my parents supported me, my siblings supported me. But in my family, I was the most vocal talking about Kent's death. When I talk about Kent, when you take your hands and you rub them together and it gets very warm in here, I feel his warm handprint in the middle of my back. So I feel like he's telling me that he appreciates, and he's kind of like saying, go sis, I'm glad that you're sharing the information because we don't want to see anyone else die by suicide. So I feel like that by becoming more vocal and speaking out from my experience, along with my passion, is that it will help so people will understand that suicide, there are other options, and that the effects that are left behind with lost survivors. I wanted people to respect and trust what I had to say as a suicide loss survivor, to understand that I'm doing this because I want to save lives. It's never been about me. It's been more about saving lives.